We have a crisis in the world, tremendous crisis, and also crisis in our consciousness, in us. I see the urgency of change, radical revolution, mutation in the mind. I see it. It is necessary. There is complete quietness of the mind, and that which is silent has vast space. Only then that which is nameless comes into being.
This is Urgency of Change, the Krishnamurti podcast. The desire for continuity is the way of time, and time breeds fear, and thought as time dreads death. Hello and welcome to episode 236 of Urgency of Change. Each episode of the Krishnamurti podcast features carefully chosen extracts from the archives. The aim is to represent different aspects of Krishnamurti's radical approach to many of the issues and questions we all face in our lives. This week's theme is continuity. Upcoming themes are chattering, space, and depression and anxiety. This is a podcast from Krishnamurti Foundation Trust, based at Brockwood Park in Hampshire, UK. Brockwood is also home to Brockwood Park School, a unique international boarding school offering a personalised, holistic education. It is deeply inspired by Krishnamurti's teaching, which encourages academic excellence, self-understanding, creativity and integrity. Please visit brockwood.org.uk for more information. You can also find our regular Krishnamurti quotes and videos on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review or rating on your podcast app. This helps our visibility. This week's episode on continuity has 5 sections. This first extract is from Krishnamurti's 6th talk in Madras 1979 and is titled, "We Seek Safety in Continuity."
We're going to talk over together whether the brain, which is part of the whole mind, with its capacity to think, to store up a great deal of information, knowledge, experience from generation after generation, millennia after millennia, whether that brain, so heavily conditioned, and so constantly wearing itself out, whether the brain can rejuvenate itself. That's a very complex problem. You understand the question first. Because I'm sure, one is sure, this question has been asked in different ways, probably. But when I never gone into it deeply, and if we can be at least for 10 minutes serious, giving your deep attention, not to what I am saying, not what the speaker is describing or going into, but we are together taking a journey into the whole business of this brain which is so very old, which is so extraordinarily capable, which has infinite capacities, which through time has evolved, acquiring a great deal of experience, knowledge, and whether such a brain, yours, not mine, yours, can unburden itself of a continuity and come and end continuity to begin totally anew. I don't know if you're following all this. The scientists with whom the speaker has talked a great deal, they maintain there are two parts of the brain, the left and the right. The left holding all the information, knowledge, technological, the whole knowledge and active process, and the other, the right, is new, not too conditioned. And the not too conditioned brain moving forward and shaping or controlling or driving the left. You understand all this? Probably I'm not a brain specialist, nor have I read all these books, but one can observe something quite different, which is the totality of the brain, not the left or the right, but the quality of the brain that has been evolved through various experiences, through various cultures, through various racial limitations, through various social, economic pressures. This brain is an extraordinary instrument. And whether that brain, which controls all our thinking, all our activities, all our sensory operations and so on, whether that brain can become totally innocent. I'm using the word innocent, please, carefully. Not the Christian idea of innocence, the lamb and all the rest of it, but we are using the word innocence in the sense, comes from Latin and so on, not to hurt. Not to hurt. That is, a brain that is capable not only not hurting others, but also not being able to be hurt. You understand? No, don't, please, this is a don't merely agree with words, but go and observe your own mind, your own brain. And because we are going to something very, very subtle and very difficult, unless you are observing it yourself, you will miss the whole thing. You have to do it, you have to work with the speaker, not just listen and pass by. We are asking a very, very serious question. We are challenging the brain itself to find out whether it has the capacity, the energy, the drive, the intensity to break down this continuity of the past with all its accumulated experience, and in the very ending of it, the very brain cells themselves undergo a transformation. You understand my question? Please understand the question first before you agree or disagree. I wish there were only a few people with whom I can discuss. Thought is a material process because thought is the outcome of memory, experience, knowledge stored up in the brain cells themselves. We'll keep not the cells in the brain, that's good enough. And it has functioned in a particular direction, continuously evolving. And thought is being material process. Of that there is no doubt, because memory is part of the brain. Brain is material. And this brain contains the memory, the experience, the knowledge, from which comes thought. So thought is a material process. And thought has its continuity, because thought is based on knowledge, which is the past. The past is operating all the time, modifying itself in the present and continuing. So there is a continuous movement, which is the movement of brain. You're following all this? I'll go on. And in that continuity, the brain has found security. Watch it yourself. A continuous tradition, values, opinions, judgments, evaluations, conclusions, and so on. A continuous tradition which conditions the mind, the brain, and that continuity is in time, a duration, and so in that duration, in that continuity, the brain has found security. You follow this? Watch it yourself, sir, because this is your life. For God's sake, not my life. Watch it yourself. So, in this continuity, it has found an immense sense of being safe. Because the brain can only function when it is completely safe. Either safe in a belief, safe in an illusion, safe in certain kinds of knowledge. This is what's happening to us. So, the brain needs security. That's clear. You can watch it yourself. Your own operation of thought, the movement of thought. Any disturbance in that continuity either the brain becomes neurotic when it's profoundly shaken, trauma is called, or when there is a great challenge offered and it cannot respond properly, then as it cannot respond properly, it finds its continuity in which it has sought security is disturbed. You're following all this? Watch it. This is so obvious. When you go into it very carefully, this becomes very simple. So we are asking whether a brain which is your brain, which is the brain of all human beings, evolved through immemorial time, conditioned by cultures, religions, by economic, social pressures. That brain has had a timeless continuity till now. And in that duration, it has found a sense of being safe. That's why you accept tradition. Because in tradition there's safety. In imitation there is safety. In conformity there is safety. And there is also safety in an illusion. Obviously. All your gods are illusions, obviously, put up by thought. So, there is not only the obvious continuity, but also in which brain seeks safety, but also it finds safety in all kinds of illusory activities in our daily life, which is a belief or faith is an illusion. There is no need for belief or faith, but having a faith in God, in Jesus, in Krishna, whatever you like to call it, and that faith, in that belief, or in that devotion, there is a sense of being protected, being in the womb of God. You understand? Which is an illusion. So we are asking now, whether the brain can discover an ending of this continuity of time, because the continuity of time is considered advancement, progress, evolution. Evolution based on the continuity of knowledge. And we are challenging that.
The second extract is from the 6th talk in Bombay, 1962, and is titled, Thinking Establishes Continuity.
For most of us, time is an actual reality. The time by the watch is an actual reality. We have to stop this meeting at 7 o'clock or 7:15. It takes time to go to your house. It takes time to acquire knowledge. It takes time to learn a technique. But is there any other time except that time? Is there psychological time? We have built up the psychological time, the time which is covered by the distance the space between me and what I want to be, between me and what I should be, between the past, which was me, through the present, which is the me, to the future, which is the me. So thought builds the psychological tower. But is there such a tower? So, to find out for yourself, you have to consider continuity. What do we mean by that word? And what is this inward significance of that word which is so common on our lips? You know, if you think about something constantly, the pleasure that you have had constantly, day after day, every minute, that gives to that past pleasure a continuity. If you think about something that's painful, either in the past or in the future, that gives continuity. It's very simple. I like something, and I think about it. The thinking about it establishes a relationship between what has been and the thought which thinks about it, and the fact that I would like to have it again. Please, this is a very simple thing if you give your mind to it. It's not a complex thing. Because if you do not understand what is continuity, you will not understand what we are going to what I am going to say about death. You have to understand this. Not expressed by me as a theory or as a belief, but as an actuality which you see for yourself. If you think about your wife, or about your house, about your children, about your job, all the time, you have established a continuity, have you not? If you have a grudge, a fear, a sense of guilt, and to think about it, off and on, recall it, remember it, bring it out of the past, you have established a continuity. And our minds function in that continuity. All our thinking is that continuity. And psychologically, you are violent and you think about non-being violent, the ideal. So you establish a continuity of not being violent, as you have established the continuity of being violent. Please, this is important to understand because it's very simple once you see this thing. That thought, that thinking about something gives it continuity, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. Whether it gives you a joy or gives you pain. whether it's something past or something that's going to take place tomorrow or next week. So it is thought that establishes continuity in action, as going to the office day after day, month after month, for 30 years till your mind is a dead mind. And you equally establish a continuity with your family. It's my family, you think about it. That you try to protect it, try to build structural, psychological structure of protection around it and around yourself. And so the family becomes extraordinarily important. And you destroy, the family destroys. It's a deadly thing. Because it doesn't, it's part of the social structure which holds the individual. So, having established continuity, psychologically as well as physically, then time becomes very important. Time, not by the watch. Time as a means of arriving. Time as a means psychologically, achieving, gaining, succeeding. And you can't succeed, you can't gain unless you think about it. Till you give your mind to it. So, psychologically, inwardly, the desire for continuity is the way of time. And time breeds fear. And so, thought as time dreads death. If you had no time at all inwardly, then death is an incident. It's not something to be frightened of. That is, if every minute of the day thought does not give continuity to either pleasure or pain, to fulfillment, or to the lack of fulfillment, to the insults, to the praises, to everything that thought gives attention to, then there is death every minute. And one must die every minute. Not theoretically. And that's why it's very important to understand this machinery of thought. And thought is merely a response, a reflex of the things of the past. It has no validity as that tree which you see actually. So to understand the extraordinary significance of death, and there is a significance of death, which I shall go into presently, you must understand this question of continuity. See the truth of it. See the mechanism of this thought which creates continuity. I like your face and I think about it. And I've established a relationship with you in continuity. And I don't like you, and I establish that. Now, if when you don't think about what gives you pleasure or pain, or of tomorrow, of what you're going to get, why you're going to succeed, whether you'll achieve fame, notoriety, and all the rest of it, you don't think about it at all. About your virtue, about your respectability, about what people say and don't say. You're totally, completely indifferent. Then there is no continuity.
The third extract is from Krishnamurti's fourth talk in Ojai 1985 and is titled, Is There a Continuity at All?
We have lived 40, 50, 90, 120, whatever the length of time it be. And during that long interval from birth to death, we have acquired so many things. Not only physical things, cars, houses, if you're lucky, a field, about half an acre. And you've acquired knowledge, experience. You have collected lots of memories. Right? Lots of experience. You have collected, gathered, both outwardly and psychologically. You don't want to be deprived of what you have collected, what you have remembered, what you have suffered. So we want and we have a long continuity, racial inheritance, collective limited experiences. We are gathering squirrels, right? And to what we have gathered, we are attached tremendously. And that is a continuity. It may be a 10-day continuity or 100 years continuity. The continuity of tradition, the continuity of identification with a race, with a group, with a family. You understand? This desire, this urge to continue, not only in myself, but the inherited collection. If I die, there's my son to continue. He inherits what I've collected physically and also psychologically. So there is this long centuries and centuries upon centuries of collecting and continuing, right? Death comes along, which is the organism withers. Either we have used it sanely, rationally, healthily, or misused it through various drugs, that's happening. So the organism inevitably comes to an end. The ending is death, right? So we must consider, what does it mean to end? You understand? Continuity and the ending. We are together. We are talking over together. This is a conversation between you and the speaker. So there is discontinuity, which you cling to, and there is the ending of that continuity. So we have understood, I hope, what it means to continue. And so we say, I will die, but there is something, I will live next life, right? There will be next life. That's the whole Asiatic, Pythagorean, and some Western people, ancient people, said there must be. And the whole of the East more or less believes in rebirth, because they want to continue. They're never asked, some have asked, the ancient people, what is it that continues? Is there a continuity at all? Are you asking all this? No, you're not. I'm asking you. God's sake. Is there continuity at all? And if there is no continuity, what is it all about? Why should I collect any more? So I won't collect him. Then they become hermits, sanya, the Indian sanya, monks, and you know all that. I won't collect him. Only I've collected one idea, which is my God, my Savior, my Guru. You follow? One thing I've collected. I just cling to that. So, we know what it means to have a continuity. So we have to inquire into what does it mean to end. End voluntarily, not through age-old disease and some kind of awful pain and anger, all that. What does it mean to end anything? Right? Therefore one asks, is continuity creation or invention? You following all this? Are you coming? I would like to. Can continuity be ever creative? Or where there's continuity as knowledge, there is invention, right? That is, invention is based on knowledge, right? Scientific invention, mechanical inventions, and so on, because there is previous knowledge, which is following the same line of invention, gathering more knowledge, inventing more. That's what's happening technologically in the world. So is creation not just the baby, creation, is it related to ending? You understand? So we're going to find out. Oh, you people. Please, I'm talking, you're not joining in this. Don't get too tired, please. So what is ending? Can I end? Please listen. Habit. Can I end a habit tomorrow or today? Inquire into it. Voluntarily, not through desire, through direction, because somebody says send it, then you will get a reward and all that immature stuff. But find out for ourselves what it means to end something easily, happily, without any effort. That means ending not only certain physical habits, but the habits that the brain has cultivated to live safely. You understand? End it. That's what it means to die, doesn't it? Because we are vast accumulation of memories. We are a bundle of memories, right? I want to see this. Not I am spiritual and God and all that stuff. That's still memory. The Indians have their own explanation. Separate Atman. I won't go into all that. So, death means the ending. Right? You may not accept it, you may not like it, but that's a fact. You can't take everything with you. You might like to keep it until the last moment. If you have a bank account and have everything comfortable, you might like till the last second. We used to know a man who had collected a lot of money, immensely rich. And he was dying, and he kept a lot of it in his cupboard, literally. I happened to be there. He told his son to open the cupboard, to look at all the diamonds, gold, and bank account notes. And he was looking at it happily, and he was dying. I know. And he never realized he was dying, because the money mattered enormously. Not death, but that which is contained in that cupboard. So, is there an ending to one's deep memories, to one's attachment? Let's take that up. Is there an ending to your attachment? What is attachment? Why are we attached to something or other? To property, money, to wife, to husband, to some foolish conclusion, to some ideological concept. Why are we so attached? Inquire. Let's talk it over together. And the consequences of attachment. If I'm attached to you, if the speaker is attached to you as an audience, think what his state of my brain must be. He's frightened he may not have an audience. He becomes nervous. almost apoplectic. And he was attached to exploit people, to have a reputation. You understand? So, the consequences of attachment, if you observe it very closely, whether it be a wife, husband, a boy or a girl, or an idea, or a picture, or to a memory, to an experience, what the consequences are that it breeds fear of losing, right? And of that fear, there is jealousy. You follow me? How jealous we are of those in power who are, you follow? All the jealousy. From jealousy there is hatred. Right? Of course, jealousy is hatred. And when you are attached, there is always this suspicion, secrecy. Haven't you noticed all this? I don't have to tell you. It's so common in the world. And can you, if you're attached to something or some idea, some person, can you end it to now? That is death. Which means, can you live with death all the day long? Oh, think of it, go into it. You will see the greatness of it, the immensity of it. That is, not commit suicide, we're not talking that silly stuff. But to live with that, ending all sense of attachment, all sense of fear, which means having a brain that is active but never active and not have direction, purpose, all the rest of it, active. That is to live with death every second, never collecting, never gathering, never giving anything a continuity. Sirs, you don't know. If you do it, you will see what it means. That is real freedom. And from that freedom there is love.
The fourth extract is from the fifth talk in Madras 1976 and is titled The Ending of Continuity.
Now we are going to find out if the psychological time which man has created, which he calls evolution, gradually to change what is and go beyond it. And you have very carefully invented time. It is, I am this, I will become that. Physically one can understand there is the baby who grows tall. That is when you want to learn a technique, you don't know it, you put a lot of effort into learning a technique and you get a job and you become the manager or the super manager or the governor or some blasted thing or other. So there is that. Then there is the psychological time, which you must understand very carefully because we are going to destroy that time. Because it's fictitious. So As long as you are thinking of becoming, you have time, psychologically. That is, time means movement. Please follow this case. Time means movement. Movement is thought. Right? Thought is measure and movement and time. Thought is movement, measure and time. And living, as we do, there is a continuity, haven't we? A continuity, and the end of continuity, which you call death. Right? You are living now, and you are quite young. I hope you are. Not old. Some of us are old, grey hair, white hair. You are young. You postpone death another 50 years. Or you have, if you are old, another 10 years, please, 5 years. So, what one is afraid of is the breaking of continuity, which is time. You understand carefully? That time is going to be broken. Anyhow, whatever you do, whatever the doctors do or the scientists do, there's going to be a time when you're going to pop off, die. Which is the ending of this continuity, which is time. So, what is important, please listen, what is important is not what happens after death, but what happens before death. You understood? You're always inquiring what happens after death. But you never inquire what is happening before. You understand what I'm saying? So we are going to inquire what happens before. And then we're also going to inquire what happens after. If you can inquire into it, one can. I'll show you presently. You're following all this? Apparently this interests you, doesn't it? Huh? Because you're all got death at your door. Whether you're young or old. So there is that enormous fear of ending this continuity at any moment or at a further on, put it off as far as possible. So what is happening before death? Which is what is happening in life, which you call living, right? Will you face what is happening before death? Which is what we're going to examine now. Because on that depends what happens after. Actually, not karma, reincarnation, all that stuff. There may be or may not be. That's totally irrelevant. What is relevant is what happens during this continuity, which we call living. Understood? Right? So what is happening in this continuity? So what is your life daily? Right? Which you call living. School, college, university, getting a job, getting married, settling down. And raising hell. A miserable, bourgeois, middle kind of life that you lead. You know it very well. Whether you are intellectual, professorial, scientific, whatever your business and so on, politicians, that's your life, right? Before, constant struggle, pain, ambitions, frustrations, unhappiness, quarrels. Face all this. Confusion, right? And misery. That is your consciousness. That is what we call consciousness has its continuity. And when there is death, that consciousness, whose content is put together by thought, comes to an end. The brain, not having enough oxygen, withers, dies. The cells perish. The cells are, please listen, hold memory. Memory is experience, knowledge. And the brain holds this. So thought is a material process as time, measure, and movement, continuity. Right? What is it? Don't learn it from me. I'm not your guru. It would be an abhorrent to me to be your guru. Guru implies authority, following, all that. That human beings, when they follow, lose their dignity. It's only when there is freedom that you become a human being. Real human being, not a second-hand human beings. So, our consciousness, which is made, the content of it, is put together by thought. So, the content makes consciousness, and consciousness is its content, which is the movement of time, of thought, of understood. This is the continuity before death. Right? Why have we made life into this hideous mess? You understand my question? Why? Why do we live like this? Spend 50, 60 years in a job. Why? You'll say, yes, I have to support my family. I must have money. And so on, And why should we suffer? Why should we have fears? All that. If you don't end all that, though the brain loses its capacity, withers away, memory, that stream of consciousness, which is not yours, which is of humanity, you understand? It's not your consciousness, it's the consciousness of all human beings in the world. You following all this? You don't quite. I die. I've lived a hideous life. Personally, I've lived like every human being, a hideous life. Never knowing what love is, never seeing the beauty. You understand? Beauty. To you, beauty is having a nice face and curly hair, whatever it is, straight nose. That's so superficial. That you must have. If you have a nice face, so much the better. But that's not beauty. Beauty is when you are not. When you, with all your problems and all your mischief and all your fears and anxieties are not, then there is beauty. And that's why in this country there is so little beauty. In your life, there is the beautiful sky of an evening, the extraordinary beauty of morning, the beauty of trees, which you haven't created. So, I die. One dies. And one's consciousness, with all its travail, with all its discord, all its disturbances, disorder, is the common factor of every human being. Right? Whether you live here, Russia, or China, or go to America, they have their own other additives. But this is the basic factor. This entity dies, who's lived in confusion, uncertainty, misery. He dies. But that consciousness, which is common to all of us, goes on. Got it? Do you understand? Those of you who believe tremendously in reincarnation, hope for the next life, because this life means nothing to you. Don't know how to change this life, and you hope to change it next life, which is all nonsense. If you can't change it now, you will never change it. Change doesn't require time, which is radical change can take place, as I said, when there is insight. You understand? I used the word insight previously, that is, with regard to learning. When you have an insight into the whole movement of our consciousness, which is the movement of disorder. When that disorder ends, there is no continuity at all.
The final extract in this episode is from Krishnamurti's 10th talk in Saanen 1964 and is titled Continuity and the Eternal.
For us, beauty is proportion. The shapes, the size, the face, the contours, the color, the face of a building, the tree, the mountain. But the observer who looks at these things, whether it is a painting, listens to music, or sees the beauty of a mountain or the flowing of a river, the observer is still the experiencer, the outsider who is looking. Therefore, is still within the field of time. And therefore, I feel, as beauty is beyond time, there must be the ending of the observer. You know, for most of us, experience is merely a state of accumulation from which to judge, to evaluate, to think. And a mind that looks at a picture listens to music, or sees the swift flow of a river or a tree, it is looking from the accumulated, from the past, from time. And to me that's not beauty at all. Beauty is only possible when there is this state of mind which is completely alone. Because we are trying to find out what is the eternal. Not what religions say, not what the priests say, not what the organized belief says. That is nothing whatsoever to do with that understanding and the state of mind that comprehends, is aware, that which is eternal. So, to understand that, as we pointed out earlier, the mind must be totally uninfluenced, therefore uncontaminated by society. Society being the psychological structure of greed, envy, fear, anxiety, and dozen things. It must be free of that. And out of that freedom comes aloneness. It is only that mind, that which is completely alone, can know what is beauty, which is outside the field of time. So, beauty and that which is eternal cannot be separated. If you paint, if you write, if you observe, if there is any form of the activity of the self-centered movement of thought, then it ceases to be beauty, because it's still within the field of time. And if you don't understand beauty, you cannot possibly understand what is the eternal. The two go together. So, a mind which is the result of time, time being the past, the tradition, the accumulation of knowledge, that mind is now trying to find out what is the eternal, what is the immortal. It's not a question of what you believe or disbelieve. That has absolutely nothing, that's too immature, too juvenile. But if the mind is earnest to find out, then you must relinquish totally this activity of isolation. And come upon that state of mind which is alone. And therefore, it's only the mind that is completely alone can comprehend that which is beautiful. And we have also to find out what is the eternal. You know, words are most dangerous things. Because they are symbols. And all words and all symbols are not the real. They give you a significance, a meaning, a concept, but the word is not the thing. So when we are talking about the eternal, and we say if there is such thing, and you have to find it out, not believing it, because belief is too infantile. To find that out, you must understand what is time, obviously. Time is a most extraordinary thing. I'm not talking of the time chronological by the watch, by the hour. That's obvious, that's necessary, and all the rest of it. But time, is there such thing as time, apart from the time by the watch? And is it possible to live without continuity? What gives continuity is thought. If I think about something constantly, it has continuity. If I look at a picture of my wife every day, I give it a continuity. So, is it possible to live in this world without giving continuity to every action I do? And so come upon every action I do afresh. That is, die to each action every day. So that the mind is never contaminated, has never accumulated. And therefore is free every day anew, fresh, innocent. We say that it is possible. It doesn't mean that it is real for you. We say it is possible, that one can live that way. But you have to find that out. So, one begins to see what is utterly, completely important is the state of a mind, the state of the mind, which is that it must be completely be alone, not isolated. And out of this complete aloneness there comes this sense of extraordinary beauty. Not created by the mind, by a picture, by putting paint together or putting few notes together. But the state of the mind that is in beauty, which means an astonishing sensitivity. And therefore, being so completely sensitive, being intelligent. Not the intelligence of cunningness, of knowledge, of trying to do something. The mind that is intelligent demands that it is not being dominated, influenced, unafraid. Then one also mind must be in that state of renewing itself every day to dying, every day to everything that it has known, the past. So these are absolutely necessary for a mind that would discover that which is the eternal, which is the supreme. Now, as I said, the word, the symbol is not the real. The word tree is not the tree. And so one has to be very alert not to be caught in words. You see, you understand what we are trying to explain? The moment the mind is not caught in the word, in the symbol, and therefore is free of the word and the symbol, then it becomes astonishingly sensitive. Then it is in a state to find out. Because after all, man has lived for so long seeking this thing. And from the ancient of days to now, they want to find something which is not man-made, which all the religions say exists. Though organized religions have no meaning to an intelligent man, they have always said there is something beyond, and man has always sought that. Because man is always in despair, in agony, in sorrow, in misery, in confusion. He's always in a state of transiency. And he wants to find something which is permanent, lasting, enduring. But he has always said it must last, it must endure. That is, it must have a continuity. And therefore always sought within the field of time. But as one observes, there is nothing permanent. Nothing. Neither your relationship with your wife and husband, your job, nothing is permanent. And because of this tremendous fear of impermanency, we want something permanent, which is that which we call immortal, eternal, and so on. The search for the immortal, the permanent, the eternal is merely a reaction, and therefore is not valid. So a mind must be free of this desire to be certain. Then we can begin to find out if there is such thing as the eternal, which is beyond time, beyond space, beyond the distance between the thinker and the thing which he is thinking about or seeking. So, when one observes all this, one has to have tremendous attention and an extraordinary quality of discipline which comes out of this attention. Because such attention has no distraction. There is no tension. There is no direction. Because every direction, every motive is the result of an influence, either the past or the present. So out of this comes an extraordinary sense of freedom. And only then is the mind capable of discovering, or is the mind itself being totally empty, quiet, still. Only then it is possible for it to feel that which is and that which is not. And such a mind is the religious mind. Such a mind only can find out or be in that state of eternality,